Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in 22 degrees of Taurus, which will be exact on November 14th at 8:52 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and 5:52 a.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time. Now, this is the third of four super full moons in a row. And so this is going to be, again, a very powerful full moon. Supermoons occur when the moon is either a full moon or a new moon. It doesn't matter which lunation it is, but it has to be at a very close distance to the Earth. So as it's closer to the Earth, that's what makes it more powerful. And so this could very well mean an increase in emotional reactions or a greater awareness around the issues connected to the full moon energies in question. So in this case, we're talking about the Scorpio-Taurus polarity, right? Because the sun is in Scorpio, the moon is in Taurus. And so we'll seek balance and integration around these two energies. So I will also talk in more detail about that super full moon and some other aspects in my next monthly forecasting forum on November 15th. And you will get a chance to take a look at that in your own birth chart with me in relationship to all these aspects, in particular the super moon. So if you're curious about that, stay tuned until the end of this video. I'll talk a little bit more about that, what that's all about, okay? But let's go back to the Scorpio-Taurus polarity. Now, we have covered the Scorpio energy in great detail in my last video when we talked about the new moon in Scorpio, so feel free to watch that again for that. But let me just say very briefly to sum it all up what that's about. Scorpio really teaches us to connect to our deepest passions. It's an emotional energy. It wants to go deep, and it wants to let go of emotional attachments or traumas that are no longer serving us. It wants us to overcome our fears and feel more empowered and connect on a deeply, intimately, and authentic level to ourselves and other people. So Scorpio really teaches us to embrace all of who we are, so we can really feel more authentic and we can feel empowered, right? So it's a very, very powerful energy. The other pole of this balance is Taurus, and Taurus seeks a healthy relationship with the physical world. And so this includes our own physical body. It includes the planet that we live on, resources that we have in our own lives or that the planet is giving us, such as money, for example, or oil, and also our highest values, things that we really appreciate and things that we really think are valuable in our world. And so we learn about the power of beauty with Taurus and what makes us happy on the physical level, right? And so Taurus is much more physically and materially oriented versus Scorpio, which is more emotionally and transformation oriented. It wants to transform what has felt disempowered and make us feel more empowered in the world, right? So with Taurus, we really need to develop our talents and a sense of self-worth, because once we can develop that, we can bring that to our relationships, to our intimate relationships, and we have a much more stable basis of how we can interrelate with other people, right? And we can also discover and manifest what we truly value with Taurus and what we truly enjoy. Taurus is also very much about enjoyment. What do I enjoy on the physical plane, right? As this human body that I am, right? Or that I inhabit for this time being, right? So a healthy sense of self-worth with Taurus is really critical. Really honoring who we are, really appreciating who we are and what we have, right? What we came in with. And so no amount of money or material possessions can really substitute for self-worth, right? But sometimes when we don't feel worthy or we don't feel that we have value, we try to substitute money and material possessions for that self-worth, right? That can be sort of like an unconscious way of trying to feel more worthy. So what you can ask yourself here with this full moon is, in connection with this energy, what matters most to me and what makes me happy deep down? And so really kind of going below the surface here and really understanding like what helps me feel truly connected to the physical world and to my intimate relationships, right? So how do I feel most happy deep down? And so, some of us, when it comes to the physical material realm, some of us are very focused on that or hyper focused on that. And then some other people, are a little bit more less connected to the physical material realm, where we feel like we want to reject it or we want to deny that it's even there. We don't feel comfortable there necessarily, right? So there's all these different sides of how people interact with the physical material realm. And so questions that you can ask yourself around that issue, depending on what side you're on. What if I changed my point of view towards the physical world just a little bit? And what is in the way of my honoring my gifts and talents, or feeling confident and valued in the world? What is in the way of that? And what if I had value just because I am the only one of me there will ever be, right? And this is something that's not to be underestimated, that the value is that we are who we are, our individual selves, that creates diversity in the world, and the expression of my own talents and gifts, no matter what they are important, and that we can't compare that, to other people. And that it's important to just honor who we actually are, rather than trying to be like other people, because we think, other people's talents and gifts are worth more than our own, right? So really embracing our own talents and gifts for what they are and seeing the value in that, right? So all the questions from this video, of course, they're always available on my website as well. So feel free to go to astrologercoach.com via my weekly forecasts page. You can see those questions. I will be posting this particular full moon entry after November 13th. It will be on my website, but you can also sign up and receive it via email in your inbox. Just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, and then you'll be receiving those weekly forecasts once a week, every Sunday night. All right. Now back to the full moon. Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, is an energy that we really want to pay attention to in this full moon chart, and it's currently in Capricorn. So being in Capricorn, of course, there is a sense that we want to connect more to society and to the values that society teaches us are good values. But we need to ask ourselves here is like, what are some long-term commitments that we want to be making? What in our lives calls out for a more practical approach or a way to look at things with more maturity? And on a financial level, we really are invited to get more real about what comes in and what goes out. So what you can ask yourself here with Venus in Capricorn is, what do you discover when you look at your bank account? And do you have savings? How do you spend your money? How do you borrow more than you can afford to pay back? How realistic are you about what you can afford? And what does that mean long term for you, right? And just allow yourself to ask these questions also with compassion, and allow yourself to just see the reality of that without having to judge yourself for it, right? And so we really need to be more honest here with ourselves in regards to our own resources. What do we have? What do we not have? Take responsibility for what we have and what we don't have. And, money if you think about it, it's just one of the resources we have. We have many resources. Money is just one of them. And so you can also ask yourself these questions around your talents and around your gifts. Just substitute, in terms of what I was asking, in terms of money and bank account, substitute other words that are more connected to your talents and to your gifts, right? And journal on that, sit with that, meditate on that. Allow yourself to really let these questions come to you honestly, authentically, and really connect to the reality of that without needing to beat yourself up about it, right? But really see it for what it is. Be honest with yourself. Now, Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. And so we also want to talk about Pluto here in this full moon chart. And it's currently in Capricorn. It's been there since 2008. And it's forming a square to Jupiter right now in Libra. And it's also approaching Uranus in Aries again. It's not going to be exact again, but it's coming close. And it's also making a trine to the North Node in Virgo. So lots going on with Pluto. So let's take a look at what that means. So this is a very powerful combination. And it really asks us to be completely honest with ourselves and others. Like really this authenticity around career, long-term goals is very, very important. Our intentions, our motivations. And, we're also asking this of our world leaders right now. We want our leaders to be honest and have authentic intentions. We're really yearning for that, And what that suggests too, that we're really ready, this square that's starting to approach again with Pluto Uranus, we're really ready to understand that each one of us also has the power to make a difference in the world, that it's not just our world leaders, that they are just a reflection. They're just a mirror of what goes on internally with us. So it's like this feeling of giving away our power, to the people that are out there that are maybe have more influence or seem to have more influence than we do. And so we want to make sure that we don't give our power away, but that we acknowledge that each one of us, that we do all have power and we can make a difference. And we have to own that. We have to own how we can make a difference. And we can do that in every moment of now, in every, in small ways and large ways, wherever you are at, you can make a difference. So we just need to seize the moment and move courageously forward, right? Now, we're definitely at a turning point, with that Pluto-Jupiter square. And so empowerment is really key here. We need to notice when we're trying to force our beliefs on others, when we're trying to say, well, this is true for me, so it's got to be true for you. And so to recognize that there is no one truth, that whenever something is true in your own mind, it cannot be the truth, because your mind can change. You can change your mind about anything. We've seen this, in our own lives. We've also seen it over history, that people can change their minds about things. So whatever you think the truth is in your mind is not it. That's not the truth. That's just an opinion. That's just a belief that you have. So it's very important to distinguish and to allow ourselves to allow other people to have their opinions and their beliefs, and to know that that's not the truth, And so this trying to force our beliefs on others, that could really introduce an element of disempowerment with others and ourselves. So we really want to be aware of that. So all of us, this could really feel quite intense with Pluto being involved, of course. In regards to finding sort of like feeling a little bit stretched between long-term goals or career things and our relationships, wanting to expand and grow our relationships. And so we really feel sometimes stretched to the max. And so I really strongly recommend with this particular combination, to practice as much as possible, to practice self-care as much as you're able to, and really ask yourself during that time, what does my inner baby need? And the inner baby is all the pre-verbal parts of ourselves where we have these basic needs, basic need for love, for food, for drink, for rest. These are basic needs that we have as human beings, all of us, so that we can show up in the world more fully, right? So what does my inner baby need, and how can I nurture it and still connect with others or follow my passions? And these are really, really important questions for the next couple of weeks, right? Now, Venus conjoins Pluto in Capricorn on November 25th. So around November 25th, this really allows us to let go of toxic behaviors around self-worth or how we relate to others. And we really seek deep, totally authentic connections at this time with other people. So it has to be truthful. It cannot be superficial. It needs to be, we need to really do our best to be completely honest about our motivation and needs that we have when we're interacting with other people. Now, when Pluto is involved, of course, there's always very crucial to be aware the distinction between the power of love and the power of fear, right? Because Pluto can bring up a lot of fear, but when we can start to acknowledge that that fear is just us giving our power away to other people, to life, to situations, and that we can actually own our power from the inside out. And that happens through love. Love is the greatest power that we have, that we own, right? So really connecting to a place of self-love and integration, integrating all of who we are. And that's really how best to work with the Pluto energy, right? Now, Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, is currently in Aquarius and is in a mutual reception with Uranus in Aries. They're in each other's sign, which means that they support each other's agenda. They help each other right now, right? As long as Mars is in Aquarius, they help each other. And so the last time Mars was in Aquarius was December 2014, January 2015. So think back to that time and just think back, what were the energies like for you around that time? Where did you feel that sense of support and forward movement? And what did you possibly start around that time? Or where did you move forward around that time? What got, where was the focus around that time, right? And how can you use that now, maybe move it to the next level or connect to it more fully? Now, with this combo, Mars in Aquarius and Uranus in Aries, we will be looking for unique and original goals. In fact, we tend to have a rather original and forward-thinking view of the world in general. So we want to create changes, changes that are good for all of humanity. And so it's best to really give ourselves and others a lot of space because we're feeling that sense of wanting to make these shifts, right? So we need to create tolerance and spaciousness for between us and other people, because when we feel boxed in, when we feel restricted in some way during that time, we may rebel or act contrary. So this, of course, is something that can also happen, that it can act itself out in the world, but it can also happen on an individual level as well, right? So this will be even more true within our relationships. When we start to feel that Venus-Uranus square around November 29th, so in the US, that's around Thanksgiving. So this could bring up some instability or restlessness in regards to our relationships or how we want to interact with other people. So perhaps it could also be related to finances or business in some way, since Venus is in Capricorn, right? And so as best as you can, don't take things too personally. If some friction shows up, stay as flexible as possible. Fear, uncertainty, or discomfort is quite possible with this aspect because we are invited to stretch ourselves within our relationships right now, within our relationship to money, our relationship to our own self-worth. We're really invited to stretch ourselves and step more into the unknown. And so that can bring up discomfort sometimes, right? So questions you can ask yourself is, what if something unexpected were around the corner that will change my life for the better? right? And this is a great, great question to ask, especially when you're feeling that discomfort, when you're feeling that uncertainty, when fear shows up. Really ask yourself that question. What if something unexpected were around the corner that will change my life for the better? And this is the only reason why you're feeling uncomfortable or fearful, is because you don't know yet what it is, right? So what needs to be eliminated or changed so you can move into a better future? So ask yourself that too. What needs to be eliminated or changed so you can move into a better future? And what would courage do? We definitely have access to courage right now with Mars in Aquarius and Uranus in Aries. They support each other in that way, that they give us more courage. So what would courage do? And what if you simply surprised yourself right here, right now? And so these are all great questions to sit with, be with, meditate on, journal on, whatever works for you, right? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the Sun in Scorpio makes an inconjunct to Uranus in Aries at the time of the full moon. And so this indicates that we need to develop an inner awareness. It's time to think and see differently. Flexibility is, again, very important here. And ask yourself here, what calls out to be adjusted? Whether that's internally or externally, what calls out to be adjusted, and how can we expand our perception of the physical world? Because the physical world is, traditionally speaking, we think of the physical world as something that's not changeable or that is not movable, that just is how it is. But how can we expand that perception, and how can we move from domination to co-creation, needing to dominate our planet, our physical material experience, to co-creating with the universe, trusting that there is a co-creative process at hand that's always there and always accessible to us, right? And then last but not least, the last question is really amazing and powerful. Could you release any wanting to control or be controlled by others? Because that is really something that will show up as well in the next 2 weeks. This sense of when we give our power away to other people or to things out there in the world, is we're basically allowing other people to control us, or we're trying to control other people because we have given our power away, so then we want to grab it back by trying to control. So could you release any wanting to control or be controlled by others? And ask this question frequently and often for the next 2 weeks. And then here are also some final coaching questions for this full moon. If letting go always brought more freedom, what would you release? If letting go always brought more freedom, what would you release? And what if our imperfections were assets in disguise? And this is related to Chiron being also connected to the full moon, right? So what if our imperfections were assets in disguise? And how could our own sensitivities or shortcomings bring forth more love and compassion? More love and compassion for ourselves, for our interactions with other people. So these are really, really great questions to just be with and sit with and allow yourself to marinate in, if you can. Now remember, gentleness towards ourselves creates an opening to heal and become whole. So how gently could you treat yourself for the next 2 weeks, right? How gently could you really treat yourself for the next 2 weeks? Now, if you do have an ascendant, career point, or personal planets in 20 to 24 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, then you're definitely going to feel the energies of these full moons this full moon more strongly. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, the house placements in your natal chart affected by this full moon are equally as important to take a look at. So in that means that you want to take a look at where's 22 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio in your natal chart, in your birth chart, because those two areas where those 2 points show up, they will need integration and balance for yourself, right? And again, we'll talk more about this in the monthly forecasting forum, right? So, but if you don't know how to look that up in your birth chart, or if you don't have a birth chart, feel free to first of all watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. That video is available if you email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line. And that is also a really great video to watch before you join the monthly forecasting forum if you haven't seen it yet or if you haven't joined us yet. And the monthly forecasting forum is really the next best thing to getting a one-on-one reading with me. It's a great way to really get connected with what the energies are doing, the upcoming energies, because we'll be using our own birth charts actively, and we'll be looking to see how the upcoming energies in late November, early December impact us personally by looking at where these energy patterns land in our charts, right? So just remember that we have a Chiron station coming up, a supermoon, full moon in Taurus. We'll talk about that. And the Jupiter-Pluto square that's coming up in November, December. We'll also talk about that in relationship to our own charts. So if you want to know how these energies are impacting you personally, I want to invite you to join the next forum, which will be on Tuesday, November 15th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is LA time, and 8:30 p.m. London time, GMT. So you can sign up to join the webinar live or register to receive an MP4 video recording within 24 hours of the live event. And both of those options are very, very valuable because you can always ask questions in advance as well for the webinar, and I will answer your questions during the webinar. But besides my one-on-one readings, this is really the highest level of support that that you can get, and it's only $24 for the 90-minute webinar, right? So please register now if you're interested on my website at astrologercoach.com by clicking on the link below the Saturn in Sagittarius video. And please also fill out the online form as well and make your payment on that monthly forecasting forum page. And if you do want to ask questions in advance, please remember to ask questions related to what we cover in that webinar for that month, because that will be most valuable for everybody who's joining, and it's most valuable for you as well, right? So also let me know if you're joining live or not. That's very, very valuable for us to know. And again, all the questions from this video are also available on my website at astrologercoach.com via my weekly forecasts after November 13th. You can also sign up for them to receive via email. If you email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecast in the subject line. And if you want to sign up for our newsletter, that's also available. Those only go out twice a month, and I'm sending out my videos, special offers, special announcements about my business, my courses. So all that is in the newsletter. If you want to receive that, email us at info@astrologercoach.com and write newsletter in the subject line. All right. If you have any general questions about the full moon or about astrology, always feel free to email me at sonja@astrologercoach.com. And I will be very happy to answer your questions. If you have personal questions that require me to pull up your birth chart, please either book a reading with me via my website, astrologercoach.com, or you can also join the monthly forecasting forum. That's what they're for, so that you feel more fully supported. All right. Have a good one. Enjoy the full moon, the supermoon. Remember, it's an emotional, extroverted time. So as best as you can, be aware and allowed to integrate the Taurus Scorpio polarity. All right. Have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.